We are back here in the Deadlands. Ooh. But yeah, so I decided to just start a fresh world, mostly because I felt like I was focused more on the content rather than playing the game, and I don't think that's the way we should be doing this. And so yeah, so we're gonna start over here at True Spawn. This is where I started, and I've already done a bunch of exploring, done a bunch of work already, as you can see. But I found a bunch of these lodestones, even though they're cheap now to make. I was finding them in chests. And yeah, so I just decided to use one to mark through spawn. And I've already gone exploring in the nether, and I found a fortress where I collected a bunch of blaze rods. We needed to make a bunch of potions, so we went exploring. And if we come up to the path here, this leads over to our base over there. And I decided to kind of put these farms around the path. So we have potatoes and wheat. We got sheep, pigs, cows, some of the basic mobs. But down here at the end of the path, we have our base. So there's some of the early stuff, early storage, furnace, stuff like that. And I have some crops over here that we're growing, but not too many. We have a cocoa bean farm over there. That's pretty cool. We've been using those to make our bone meal. So that's been pretty handy. And over here is our progress board. So under the blue are ideas that I'm having or that I'm coming up with. And I'm putting things on here that I want early on at the moment. So I've grouped these four farms together because I think, the bone meal will be used in the tree farm, and the tree farm will create logs that we can then turn into charcoal, and then we can have the furnace array. And so that's kind of just like a whole system there. But some other like maybe later early farms that I want to get to, they'll be really handy in the Nether Hub. I think this is one of the early projects I really want to get started on. That way, like when I'm building stuff around the world, the Nether Hub is gonna like help facilitate travel, right? It'll make it so much easier to travel to all the different farms and stuff. But the one thing I'm working on right now, under the yellow, which is in progress, is the main storage, which is over here. And this is technically our house. So one thing I didn't really do in the first playthrough of the Deadlands was focus on a home. I never really had a home. I built one, but I tore it down in like the second episode or something. So I've been really focusing on the house. And so I spent a lot of time over here. I think I've spent most of my time working on the house. Inspired by like Bag End. I felt like the Hobbit house was a good idea. So over here, I haven't really started working on the bedroom yet. We still need to kind of clear some space. Back here is my study, where I've got my enchanting set up. I've already gone mining quite a bit. Got a bunch of diamonds that we're going to be using on armor, tools, all that stuff. Over here's my kind of my workbench. So something we aren't doing is data packs. We're not using any data packs in this world, but I am using mods, and we have armor poser, so we could do some armor stand stuff. Where I was thinking we could put a bench here using some armor stands. That might be pretty cool. And yeah, so I went into the nether to get the blaze rod so I can make weakness potions so I could cure a zombie villager to get mending. That's pretty handy. And back here, I think we're gonna tuck him away along with two other villagers. I think I'm breaking 3 and efficiency 5, but we're also gonna have our storage, kitchen, furnace stuff. I think some additional storage for armor tools and stuff like that. But one thing I'm struggling with right now is XP. I don't have a good source of XP. I've been mining, farming, all that stuff. And so I've been kind of stuck on this problem for a while. So I think I'm going to avoid doing like a mob grinder. I do have a couple of spawners, like a skeleton and a zombie spawner I could use for a mob grinder, but that's really not all that fun. And it's not really handy later on in the playthrough. Like I'm gonna use that grinder or that mob grinder for like an hour, or not an hour, a day, one day, and I'm done with it. I won't ever return to it. And so I decided let's build something that's gonna be handy forever. So back here we have a little area back here that's kind of squarish, and I think it'd be kind of nice to just put our early farms like bamboo, kelp, sugarcane. Yeah, but back here we're gonna add our kelp farm, probably do kelp blocks. That way we have like this thing that's like constantly fueling itself and making fuel for us, and we'll be able to turn off the smoker, get XP. I think that's great. Yeah. But yeah, so I think they made a change so that things like this crops will grow even without the player in the area as long as the area is loaded. So it's not dependent on the player or random player tick anymore. It's just a random tick. So that means we could probably use a stasis chamber, use the ender pearl to keep the farm loaded. So as like no matter where I am in the world, I think the farm will stay loaded, and that's pretty cool, right? All right, so I did do some testing in creative and found that a stasis chamber does keep things loaded, like the kelp farm here. And so I just started working on it a little bit here in survival because, once I proved that this was working, I just had to build it. So we have some chambers here for XP. And yeah, so I'm starting to run out of materials like iron, and I can't make any more of these pistons without the iron. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to this cool mountain that I found while exploring, and I think I had a bunch of iron nodes and coal and stuff. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna do some resource gathering, and then we'll come back and get this built, get it going, get some XP. Yeah. All right, so I have been working on the kelp farm. We have added another 5 layers, so that's a total of 6. And I think this is where we're gonna leave it, just because we're producing more kelp than we can actually handle. I think we can add maybe another 4 smokers, and that'd probably be enough. But we are producing enough kelp blocks, so we're pretty good there. And so yeah, I'm just gonna add the other 5 layers on this side, and then we're gonna cover the farm. And what I think I'm gonna do is just take the smokers. We're gonna rotate them into the chunk here. That way we can add a few more of these smokers. So I'll do that in a bit. We're gonna go over here to the house because I have been doing a little bit of work. So you can see no more stuff over there, and I've cleared out the area. We're cleaning it up a bit. That's because I've added my storage, and I've moved my villagers in here. So we got the mending guy, and I cured a couple more zombie villagers and got the efficiency 5, and I'm breaking 3 guys. And then I've added a bunch of storage, and yeah, I think this is enough. I've been able to manage everything I had. Back here along this wall, we have our blast furnace, a couple furnaces, and so this is where you would put in like your materials and then fuel, and then the outputs down here. And over here, I've done a little bit of decoration. We also have our crafting stuff, crafting table, stone cutter, that, and brewing stand. So we have our brewing stand ingredients here. We have a bunch of fuel here, so I collected a bunch of coal when I was out looking for iron. And then just our tools. And then I added a water source back there. That way, whenever I need water, I got it right there. And then just some temporary storage for food, because I haven't built the kitchen yet. We also don't have storage for armor, tools, weapons, and stuff. I've also been spending some time just doing a little bit of enchanting when I get the levels. So we're getting pretty close. I think I'm gonna go with a mending bow. I normally go with infinity, but I think I want to do like some, I don't know, arrow factory thing. So I think it'd be fun if we just had a mending bow instead. And then I've also been mining quite a bit. I had to get a bunch of redstone for the kelp farm, and I ended up getting quite a bit of diamonds too. So we're pretty set for diamonds and for enchanting and stuff. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, so it's been a bit since I started this episode. I started this episode a couple weeks before what Forever Hardcore. I came up with the idea for that, and then I just felt like I had to get it done and start it. But I've come back to this, and I've started editing, and I sound really bored. But trust me, I'm enjoying this series a lot. And yeah, so I've finished up the kitchen here, so we got some nice I don't know, decoration. I was kind of going for like an Italian villa, maybe. I don't know. Kind of gives me those vibes, but I'm using a little bit of armor sands to kind of create these cool looking pots. And yeah. So, yeah, another thing I added was the storage for things like armor and just tools and stuff. I think down here I'm gonna store things for like armor trims. Yeah. But once I start getting some enchanted armor, I'm gonna store them on the armor stands here. But yeah, so enchanting. I've finished up the XP farms or the XP banks, the kelp farms back here. Yeah, so I finished up the little modules over here, and I actually learned that I can't have any more than one smoker. I'm not producing enough kelp, even though it looks like it. This isn't able to support more than one smoker. It's odd, but I've done both sides, and now I'm producing bone meal. I'm producing enough fuel. Plus, I've got some XP. We can maybe try this. So I'll stand here, then I'll grab that. That wasn't very much. Hmm. Yeah. So I'm not getting much out of this, which is fine. I think the system is really good for like a passive XP bank, right? But what I want to start doing is maybe actively getting XP. I really need to get some enchanting done. And so I've been kind of thinking about it, and maybe I had the idea before I started the kelp farm over there. But there's a biome in the nether that spawns endermen, and it only spawns endermen. I mean, striders as well, but endermen are like the primary mob that spawn in this biome. So I was thinking maybe it'd be possible to make an enderman farm, and I think that's what we're gonna do. I just need to get some materials put together, and I'm probably gonna need an endermite, and I don't think this is enough ender pearls, so I may actually need to go farm up some endermen first before I can do that, and then what else? Oh, name tags. I need more name tags. I only have the one, and so we can trade with the villagers for name tags, but I have not traded with these guys enough to even get the name tag. So I think I'm gonna have to. Ooh, actually, I might just buy a bunch of these books. That wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't have a sugarcane farm. I could get one set up. Just a quick temporary one to get a bunch of paper so I can get some emeralds. Yeah, that might be the plan. Yeah, all right. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna sit here, get some materials, and yeah. But we're gonna go build an Enderman farm soon. I hope. Okay, so I decided to build a little platform here just to test this, and I don't know. I don't think this is going to be completely viable. They just aren't spawning too well here. Though I think if I go below the surface here, it's going to take a moment. And there we go. So you can see there's a bunch of Endermen here, and I think if I were to spawn proof the area, I think it would work. But I don't really want to take the time or spend the resources to do this at the moment. This might be something I come back to later, just because I do want to see if it'll work. But yeah, I don't know if I want to spend the time or more time on this at the moment. So I think I think I'm gonna give in. I'm gonna make a mob grinder. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go find that skeleton spawner and just make a grinder, get some levels. I don't think I'm gonna have to spend so much time over there, just because I've already put together tools and some enchantments and stuff. So yeah, I don't think it'll take too long. Or I could go check out the kelp farm. I've left a pearl over there. Maybe that'll work. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna run back now. Go build a skeleton spawner or farm. Yeah. So yeah, before we head over to the Skelly farm, yeah, hey, that's done. I did that, and we got all enchanted and stuff. I got everything. Well, we'll get the other enchantments like Soul Speed and Swift Sneak at some point, and maybe Thorns. so I like thorns. But yeah, so I put together the bedroom. It's all done. A little bit of storage, just in case I need to use it. But yeah, didn't need to be overly complicated. Just needed the bed here. But yeah, and so now let's head over to the Skelly farm, and we can check out all the things I've added in between clips and stuff. So I've added some lamps here just to keep the pathway lit up, and we have some firefly bushes that kind of create like an ambiance during the night. I think, this one's under the tree, and I think I can see the firefly particles. So I don't think you need to put it underground. It seems to be working just fine. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I just added a little bit more greenery along the pathway. It's looking pretty nice. And I've also added this stretch of the pathway over to the Skelly farm. And this is probably my favorite part. We've got just a few lamps and maybe a bit of more of a clearing. I don't know. It just it just feels good, But I think for future little things that I use that aren't gonna be like used a lot, like the Scully farm, I'm not gonna come down here that often. I think I'm just gonna do like a simple design like this, just to kind of mark it. This kind of looks like a little monument. And the cool thing is, like, if I'm out exploring, kind of looks like a little lighthouse or something. A little thing that you'll recognize. Yeah. But down here, you walk forward through the hole, and that takes you down to the Skelly farm. And up here is where you come up from the Bubble Vader. And I had to add this little lip here so as I'm like walking down, I don't fall into the hole, because I did end up doing that one time. I came up to go get resources in the storage room, and I ended up having enough speed or whatever, and I gained some air, and then I just went straight down the hole. We're gonna go down here just to check it out for a moment. Got a little bit of powdered snow here to dampen the fall. A little bit of storage, nothing too complicated. Lots of armor. I might end up putting some mending on some of this chainmail. Yeah, that might be kind of cool. Tons of enchanted bows. I've repaired a bunch as well here. Tons of arrows, and even though this seems like a lot, I don't want to use this farm to get all my arrows. So yeah, that's kind of why we're going with infinity for the moment. I do want to make an arrow factory, so at some point we're going to make a mending bow. And then I've already taken up a bunch of bones up to the top. And then I had to make another enchanting setup down here, so I didn't have to go back up to enchant all the time. And yeah, really simple design. Nothing too different than what you would normally see. Yeah, pretty cool. And this one, oh, yeah, they're one punch. Yeah, pretty cool. All right, we are here at the end of the episode. You can see I've done a little bit of work around here. I've cleaned it up, got rid of all the sugar cane and the bamboo that we had. And over here, look, all the lava's gone. Yeah, I decided, I kind of want to like add a plaza or something. Just add some more little buildings around here. So I wanted to make sure to get rid of that lava. I've also cut down a tree to kind of give us a better frame of this mountain here, because, what I'm thinking is at some point we're going to add a pathway up to like a gate over there in that mountain over there. And I think I've been over there just a little bit. And I think there's a good amount of area at the top there that we could add like an ice farm or something. So I do want to build like a pathway that kind of goes through the forest there to a gate somewhere around there. And I think just having this frame here, that'd be pretty cool. So we'll work on that at some point in the future. But yeah, you can see I added a little bit of greenery, added a little stoop here to the house here. And yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. I added some beets in there just to kind of give it more of a vibrant pop. I think it's looking pretty good. So we are here at the end of episode 1 of the Deadlands. And yeah, it's great to be back. But I do want to let you guys know that it might be a while before episode 2 comes out, because I want to focus on Forever Hardcore and Rotten Block. Forever Hardcore is a temporary series, and I just want to try to knock it out so that the next host can start playing. Yeah, so yeah, be pretty cool. And I have some pretty big plans for Rotten Block. I know it's been a while, but if you are here at the end and you enjoyed, Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Bye bye. See ya.